Tom Taylor Morgan, TTM,
Yeah,
Tommy Lee Jones. Welcome to my podcast. I just want to say I appreciate you so much because you're the first person to join me on this journey. I mean, you took a leap of faith, and I just want to say thank you very much. And I was
you're
thinking,
welcome,
you
though.
know, I was thinking um, that for the icebreaker moment, as we were talking earlier, that I was going to tell you a joke, maybe a joke about civil engineering, but I just decided not to do that. I decided to give you a fun fact. So the fun fact is this.
Okay,
This is the first time we are both speaking English to each other after 20
I
something
know.
years.
with
There's always
with the exception of when we have drank a bit of wine or something, you always
exactly.
when you take more than one glass, you always transition into English. So
No, I think no, no. I think it was you. I think it was you.
anyway,
But anyways, welcome, man. Welcome. Anyways,
mm,
just introduce yourself a little bit.
yeah, well, of course, you already mentioned my name. So my name is Tom, and I will just add the surname. In Africa here, we are very keen about our surname. So my name is Tom Ivan Taylor Morgan. So I'm from Sierra Leone, and I've been living and working in Sierra Leone the whole of my life, almost 4 decades now. So most people will start by like moving into their profession and all of that. But my most important job is being a father. I'm a father to three beautiful daughters, girls. They are called Love, Joy, and Grace. And I'm also a husband. For 10 years, I've been married. That's just the proof of it. And being a partner to my wife for more than 20 years, my lovely wife. And I'm in my late 30s, so that should tell you I'm really old. I'm not a
Yeah,
Gen
not
Z,
too old.
so
Not too old.
I'm
You
not
still
into all
young.
of these TikTok things and with cameras being pointed at my face. So I'm not used to having cameras pointing at my face. So you'll have to bear with me.
Yeah, no
The
worries. No
Gen
worries.
Z now, every moment from the morning to the evening, the rest of the day have cameras pointing at them. Well, basically, that's me, and I'm a civil engineer and project manager. And I think we can go into more of that, but basically, that's me.
I know. I know. That's a great introduction, Tom. Thank you very much. So, Tom, I want to take you down to memory lane. I want to take you down to memory lane all the way to when we met. I was thinking back and I thought we actually met at Limount, but I don't think we did. I think we met one time when I was walking home and you and Silvanos were going to Mamioni's secondary school and you asked me about Limount. I don't know if you remember, but that's what I
Eh,
remember. Right. And then
yeah.
months couple of months later on, you turned up at Limount and we started, talking and things like that. But I guess that was like how our friendship started off. And talking about Limount, they always say school days are always the best. I had a good time in Limount, but I just wanted to know what your experience was in Limount. Would you say it's one of your best days?
Yeah, definitely. Limont was one of my good days, I would say. As you mentioned, I had a friend named Silanos. So we started school, I think, from nursery. So up till we were, I think then it was around it's from three, and he left and he moved to Limount. So, and I had this pressure of, yeah, following him. We've been like friends forever. So he was always convincing me, come over. Here is better than the former school we used to that King Haman, as you mentioned. So eventually the next day I had to convince my parents. And luckily, even my brothers could not join because my elder brother, he was about 50 years older than me. He also wanted to, but I was lucky. I got into Limount, and it was a good experience. It was really a good experience. So I had to meet a lot of new friends, and I'm naturally a shy person, but I think Limount was one area where I started opening up because one good thing I remember, because since I joined in late, most of you and others had started from the first form, so I joined in at form 4, so it was a bit challenging catching up with others. So we had to be having extra classes, especially on Saturdays. And that was good because usually after classes, we used to bond as friends. We'd either go to somebody's house or would go to for a walk together. And that really helped build up my confidence. And I made a lot of new friends. And with Limount, it was a mixed school. So we we met with we were in classes with a lot of girls. I used to be very shy. I could not even speak with girls, but I had the opportunity there to be in classes with a guy. I remember one of my well main competition was a girl. She was, I think, to Trudy Gooding. So
Oh, yeah,
so
you
we were
remember?
always battling who would come first and second, and yeah, so so
Yeah.
yeah, so that was a good experience. And also, well, in Sierra Leone, here, Limount was one of the, it's a private school, and with private school, you always have quote unquote rich kids. So,
Uh-huh.
and I won't say I'm from a rich family or rich, but at least we are well off. But you met with these other kids, and there was always pressure of keeping up appearances. Yeah, with at the start of every new school year, you had to go with new sets of shoes, new sets of bags, and all of these. And some of these kids at our age, from 4, they were even driving cars, and you felt a bit peer pressure. But I think the friends I had were very well in terms of morality and everything. So I had a very good friends. So that really helped me well, be able to resist some of those in peer pressure, because I had Cyrano's that I mentioned was another very good friend with a very good hope bringing. So even though we associated and met with all of these other rich kids, but also we were able to whatever we learned from home, we're able to bring to school. And also I think the experience built our character, but also helped me to open up, to make new friends, to feel more feel more proud of who I am and what I am.
Yeah, I can
With
relate. I can relate with you because I also was not from a rich family, right? It was basically a sacrifice that our parents did to put us to school, essentially put me to school, right? So I can relate with you, but I didn't know actually that I can't remember that it was in Form 4 that you joined us. I always had this idea that maybe you joined us in like in Form 3 or something like that. It was good to know, just getting all this, bringing all these memories back. But yeah, um, the man was great. We formed some great friendships. People like Kata,
Yeah,
you,
I know.
Melodious. Just to name a few. But with friends that kept us grounded, we had all the same common upbringing, common goals, and things like that. And of course, the competition was always there. We always wanted to beat each other. But moving forward a little bit, I was just also thinking how sad it is that we went through the Mount a couple of years now back. We're all doing our own things and our separate things, but we don't have that thing that brings us together, right? There's At this point, I don't know if there's an alumni even function, and we saw the power of the alumni with AWMS. How I mean, there is like a billion. That's crazy, right? So I would just my question to
Yeah.
you is, how important do you feel like an alumni association, how necessary it is for Limount?
Yeah, I think I've been part of the group. They've had this group. I think I've been there for more than a decade now. But you'll only receive a post. There are a few people that will only post like a day or two. But the other time they organized an event, I think it was a meet and greet, but I was actually out of town, so I could not attend. But as you mentioned, we compare that with what like the Annie Walsh Memorial School are doing, and recently I also heard about the Boys High School. They also did, and even the Prince of Wales, they are doing quite good. They have I have like brothers that are part of those associations. So I think Limount we need to do more. I can't really pinpoint the issue. I think, well, as we mentioned, um, um, most of us, we came from quite different background. I remember a few of the friends that we had. Toffee, I don't know, I've lost you. I don't know if you're still online, but I'll continue talking. So
Yeah,
most of the friends we
it's
had,
just a change of
a few
angle.
of them, yeah, I know. A few of them, like, well, most of them traveled after we finished school. A few of us went on to university in country. So that was the first stage where we started losing that kind of communication. And even though, yes, it's similar for also like schools like Annie Walsh, but those schools are much, 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 much older schools. Annie Walsh maybe and the grammar school and the rest, Prince of Wales maybe are over 100 years old. And these things have been passed on from one generation to another. So they have a few other things, like they have the school band. So these are smaller associations within the school that bring people together. They have also different other smaller organizations, which the Mount never really had. So with those small associations, there's always that bond, and they are able to, rally up others to come and be part of the old school association. So with Limount, I think, well, what really brings people together is events and something that should be happening. It's either we have to start planning some events or start maybe like people that have common interests. Like I like music, so if there is a kind of maybe a smaller group of people that like music or into tech, so they set up these smaller associations. So they bond with common interest rather than just saying I'm coming to be part of a group. And because what brings people together is in being in having common interests. So we can just, I think with Mount is best they have these smaller groups, maybe a tech group, maybe they have a music group or some other groups that would form, and then those smaller groups will come together and at least hold the whole school association together. So that's my idea about it. And yeah.
Yeah, these are good ideas. At the end of the day, it's what works, what brings us together that matters. It doesn't matter how, but what brings us together. So I'm all for it. I hope one day, we'll be gathering together at some point, and we'll be kind of, doing a match or doing some type of celebration. Because I think
Definitely.
we do need to come together for sure. But anyways, enough about Limount. We'll leave it for another day. And
Yeah.
you went to you went to Fourah Bay College at a very young age, 16. And I also went at 17. And trust me,
I know.
there was a big, big transition. I don't know if you remember a guy who was his surname is called Fox. He always says, he always said, "Are you seeing building or are you seeing people?" I don't know if you remember.
I remember
I
he.
he always says this. Are you seeing people or are you seeing a building? Well, I was seeing buildings throughout. For at least for the first 2 years, I was seeing building because it was such a different dynamics. We were leaving home for the first time, and staying. We were staying in Davidson Nickel Block 35. I think the question I have for you: did anything shock you? Like, did you get like a shock when you were the first year in public college?
Well, definitely. I think for me, it was more of facing the reality of life. When I got to FBC, with in school, I've been doing quite well in all my subjects. You always be scoring like in 70 and above, 80 and above, and you thought that you knew everything. So I remember the first year when we did our first exam. So it was quite the first semester. It was quite well. We had so many good marks, and then second semester came around. And wow, that was the shock of my life. Having a few subjects, you met some challenging new subjects. Because the first semester, we just like, it was just a recap of what we did in secondary school. So, and when we had the second semester, we started doing some newer subjects like organic chemistry. And then that's the reality of life. You started to think, well, I'm not that smart. And at least I don't know anything. So I remember that was my first shock. And then I started realizing I needed to start working harder because, with you come with that confidence from school, you think you know everything, you think you know everything about the world. Then you start to realize like you are just getting into life. You have to like reset yourself and try to start learning new things, having an open mind. So that was the first thing I really learned at in FBC. And others were, in the social part of it. So, well, in school, we used to have these parties, small parties, but we always had like time to come back home. We had this curfew said, okay, you should be home by 10. But we were back when we went to college, we were free. I remember when we had this freshers jam, that was also an experience. I don't know if you remember very well. So
Yep. Yep.
I know we don't
Well,
take too much of alcohol. Sometimes when we go out, we all do a bit of alcohol. But I think that was my first experience where I actually drank beyond my limit and I actually passed out.
uh-huh.
And I think you guys helped me back to my room, and I woke up like almost 12 or more than 12 hours later. So that was also another experience. And there was so much more, going into college, you have all of this freedom. We usually went up, we stayed up about a week and maybe come down for weekends. Some people even stayed up a month without reaching out to parents because you had some kind of allowance that they will give you. And you felt this freedom. And but with time it becomes the novelty of it, or it becomes a bit, you start feeling too much, you start feeling homesick. So for me, by the time I got to second year or third year, I was spending like most of my time back at home, and usually went for classes. And a few times when we are close to exams, I was still. Another one, with the facilities there, was quite challenging, especially with sanitation.
Yeah.
So
Taking the
that was
shower,
also a
taking
deterrent.
shower.
That was also a deterrent for us. It was also new. The sanitation part of it was really disturbing. Something we took years for us to come to terms with, and you never adjust with it anyway. But
No.
there were a lot of experience. But going forward, I think um, well, for me, as you mentioned, I had always been on the fast lane because I have a brother, my very old next older brother. He's like 4 years older than me, so I actually went to university about 3 or 4 years older than him, and all that was due to when I was in primary school. I skipped two classes, so I was promoted. So I got to university quite early, and well, it was. I actually spent 4 years, unlike you guys that did 5 years. And
Yeah.
because I did not make it to the honors class, it was not really an academic thing or due to my capacity. I remember it was one of these module. We had this module that they called strength of materials. I was sick for the exam, so I totally missed the main exams. I had my continuous assessment and I could not make it for the main exams because I was really, really sick. And also talking about sick, I remember when you guys wanted to join I think you joined the fraternity and the club. I also went, I wanted to join one of the clubs. I went for a few meetings and I
Uh-huh.
was quite sick back then. I was sick for the initiation. Now I can't remember whether I was sick or whether I was too afraid to be part of the initiation. But I remember that's why I never joined any of these social clubs or the fraternities like you guys did. So, well, just talking about that. So I spent 4 years there, and it was for years that I felt heartbroken that I could not attain the honors class. But it was, and at some point I realized it was not due to my capacity; it was just due to well health issues and the rest. But that really worked out well for me because I remember for all of us that joined, I was the only one that actually graduated that year. Out of the whole set that joined, because when we even went to the general class, we graduated there. I think the year I graduated in, because we had this carry forward system. So I was the only one that actually made all the modules that was able
Hmm.
to graduate that year, and for all of us, about 200 of us that I remember that started that year, with exception for you guys that went on to do the honors. Yeah, but all the guys that dropped out and did the general. So at the end of the day, also boosted my confidence. I realized that even though I did not make it to honors, I was able to. But it was it's an experience, and I could also say it was at FBC I made my lifelong friends. You being one of them. If I had a few friends from school, I think I only have 3 or 4 that are still my friends. Maybe you and Silvanos and a few others. But the good thing, the closest friend I had in university up till now, we are still very close. Yeah, we don't speak that much, but it's somebody I can always take a phone and call them, and we can catch up within a minute of chatting. So I think the bond we formed there was very, very strong. Um, but also, if I could mention, FBC was also like a kind of a military training ground that prepared us
Yeah,
for mentally for life to face the world after
yeah,
university. Professionally, I won't say because after university I started learning most of the things I needed for my career. But mentally, it prepared us in the sense that you understood that you are nothing special. You have to you have to work extra hard to make it in life. You have to be exceptional to make it in life because when you go to university, it's not like school when you have special attentions from your teachers. Not the even the your lecturers don't even care who you are. Sometimes I remember when I was doing my dissertation or thesis, and yeah, the same supervisor was supervising like 20 students. So you are nothing special. So you just spend an hour with him and he gives you notes and you have to work things out for yourself. So you like the support that you thought you needed from him, you won't be getting. So all of those things. And mentally, I remember a lot of friends dropped out during that period. And a few of them even were mentally affected. I won't mention names, but we all know some of them could not really take
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And yeah, I'm thankful for that opportunity. And yeah, it's something I wouldn't want to go through it again, but it's something that really shaped us. But
For sure, for sure. I can relate to everything you said. I mean, like Fourah Bay College actually shaped me. I think that's where I developed into the kind of person I am in terms of resilience, in terms of striving, to for to survive. Because in Fourah Bay College, you strive to survive, you know. And for me, shocking was taking the shower. When we had to take turns going under the water for like five
I know,
seconds, come out, you know, top yourself up, and then jump
I
as
know,
the other person goes in. Then I go next. Like that was like a one of the big shock for me. The whole system then was a big shock. But as the years progressed, I think I came into my own in year three. I think year three is when
yeah,
I actually came into my own. I'm like, now I can take Fabi College. I can handle it. I mean, it was tough
definitely.
because you know, um, how engineering is it's
Yeah, I know,
tough. Every day you have to study exams. You have to study months in advance before the exams. And if you get a
definitely.
70, man, you got to be somebody like Elijah for you to be like, get an A, things like that. But
I
it was
know,
as you said, an experience that has made me
definitely,
resilient. And coming to Canada, that resiliency that I took
yeah,
from Fourah College helped me for the challenges that I met in Canada. So I wouldn't say it was
definitely.
I wouldn't say it was the best, but there was some great valuable lessons I got from Fourah
I
College.
know, I know, I know. That
Yeah,
definitely it is. And we had some fun times also, even though it was challenging. But I think we were young and naive, and we had some fun times. I remember us playing football under the rain and us having all of these in
I
studio
know,
clubs.
I
I
know.
remember in werewolves and the rest.
Yeah, yeah. Are you
And
still a
yeah,
werewolf?
and of course, I'm a werewolf for life. I'm a werewolf for life. And
Uh,
and as you mentioned resilience, and it during those period, we a few friends were well dropped out of the way, and few of them we all finished together, and the rest. But it's also it also taught us and taught me personal lesson in life that you go through life at the end of the day, you have people that support you, but at the end of the day, it's all by yourself in a sense. You have family that will support you, you have friends that will support you, but at some point, you meet some challenges that nobody is there, so you have to face it by yourself. So even though you had friends, but sometimes you have to accept that in life you have to lose people at the same time you gain new people so that you transition. Life is a constant transitioning phase. So yeah, even though you keep a lot of people, but sometimes you have to let go because
yeah,
that's just that's the nature
yeah.
of life.
That's exactly that's the nature of life. You start a journey with a bunch of people, but that does not mean at the end of the day you're gonna finish with everybody. Everybody has their own path in life. Everybody take their own path. It's life.
Definitely.
But anyways, moving forward, yeah. After that struggle in Fourah Bay College, it was not easy. You know, you then graduated into the thing we call life, career, and making that living, making that money. Um, you know, thinking about how you could, you know, build your own house and things like that. But I just want to start where or which company did you start off with after graduation?
Yeah, well, straight out of the university, I just want to the quote they said, okay, you come from the university and you come into the universe. So yeah, straight out of the university, I moved into the universe, and I was lucky actually. My elder brother, well, three of us are engineers. So my elder brother had graduated about 3 or 4 years prior to me. The oldest one, my oldest brother, is also civil engineer. So he helped me secure a job with a premier construction company. So that's the highest class of construction company you have. And this was being run by Lebanese. And the Lebanese are notorious for being ruthless and brash. But I was lucky. I think the CEO then, because he had a son my age, he also was training to be an engineer. And he was also always really kind with me. But at the end, and maybe I can go on to that story at the end, we kind of fell out, but we're still good friends. And so I worked there for about 2.5 years. So I think those were the 2.5 years that shaped my career. And in a sense that, and all of what the skills and the knowledge I've learned, that first 2.5 years really prepared me for the 18 years of my career. So, and I was lucky to also work with the best of the best. I remember that year when I joined the company, we had about four guys that had graduated 2 or 3 years prior to us. I don't know if you remember their names. Vidal, who was my cousin, was also
Yeah,
there. He was a structural
I know.
engineer. You
Yeah, I
had
remember
B.A.
Pada.
Lansana. B.A. Lansana was one of the few that had graduated with first class after, well, Vidal had graduated after about 10, 15 years. Nobody had got first class. So he had graduated with first class. And also Bill Lansana, the next year, graduated with first class. And a few others, they were also, I think, Emba. I don't know if you remember Emba. He also
Ember,
worked there for a
yeah,
few, right? The
yeah.
guy he worked with the mining thing, and I think he did the mining. He was quite short, always wearing a cap, but it's very brilliant. He also finished with first class. So I worked with the best of the best. So I got all the best training. And it wasn't easy because even though these guys they were working on their own smaller projects. I had to be jumping from one project to the other. So it was at this time. And also there was this guy called Engineer Spain. He had like 30 years experience. He had worked with the UN, he had worked overseas and all the rest. So he was my own personal supervisor. So I was able to acquire a lot of knowledge. I remember that's when I acquired this computer-aided design, AutoCAD, and the other software. I also did the project management softwares or Excel. Strangely, that's when I learned Excel and even Word. After university, I could not even type well. I know we did a dissertation, but most of the time we had to pay people to type for us. I
Yeah,
had a small lab team.
yeah, there was no computer back then. I think I had my first laptop finally at university.
I know, yeah.
All the rest we
So
spending
it
time
was
at
then
cafe.
I know. I used to have this desktop with the secretary at the front. I will have some screen time. I will go there, learn my software, and it really shaped me up. And yeah, I also had some field work in the field. So I spent like 2.5 years there, but with time I became really bored. I think I thought I had learned enough, and with construction, it's a good field in civil and building engineering, but you were a bit limited because you're only focusing on one aspect. So I needed to transition to another aspect wherein I'm more like looking at actually the contract management of things. So I started looking out for new jobs, and luckily the job actually came. So we had this project. We're doing the German owned bank, the co credit. So they are doing this kind of credit, like listen loans and credits to business people, small and
Okay.
SME, small and larger business. So we did their headquarters. So I was the engineer stationed there, and the head was a German guy. He came up one day on site, and we had this site meeting, and he was very impressed with my performance then. And he called me aside. He took my number. He called me for a meeting and said he really wanted me to work with them. So I went through the whole interview process, and that's where I remember I had this falling out with the Japanese guy. So they actually gave me an offer, and respectfully, I went to my boss, my CEO, and told him, okay, I've got this offer with this company that was actually their client, or they were the contractors for this company. And I said they offered me, and I said I really wanted to move on. I told him, I appreciated the time I spent with you, but I think I need to
For sure.
transition.
For sure. For sure.
And the saddest part, and these are all lessons you learn in life. This guy went on and he actually badmouthed me to the to this German guy, and I felt broken. That I felt betrayed in a sense, because I was young. I thought I had opportunities. It was a good opportunity for me,
Mm,
and somebody that had really been like a father to me, and that happened. But luckily, the German guy was, and the question he asked him, if this guy wasn't that good, why are you still with him, or why do you still want him? Why don't you want him to move on? So eventually, I moved on, and yeah, I that's when I started my second job. And just imagine, back then I think we were getting like the salary was something less than, if I remember, less than maybe $100 or $150, and I
yeah.
transitioned directly to about getting $1,000. And that was really also it gave me a sense that the possibilities are there, because transitioning from earning $150 to earning $1,000, you really know that once you work and you know your job and you try to develop yourself, the opportunities are there. So yeah, and I started working for this company, and then I had a different horizon. I worked as an engineer there for like a year, and also proved that I had some management skills. So I did some training. I went to Germany, where also Mozambique, South Africa, about a whole 2 year. I was actually doing more of training than more of working. And I was training all of these business management, finance, and the rest. And eventually I decided to do my MBA. So, but it was a good experience. So that's where I got into the project management part of it. And I actually worked about a whole year as a branch kind of supervisor, and I did a lot of banking and stuff. And that was quite a good experience. And by the time I left there, I got my job at the UN. My salary also like almost tripled, almost quadrupled. So that I think I was really lucky, but it's not more of
Yeah.
luck. I think it's prepared. I was prepared in the sense where in those first few years, I really took time to acquire the skills I needed. And I remember back then, I was always patient. And these are also learned from the guys that I worked with. I started working with at Modcom, because I was saying, oh, these guys are the best of the best. Why don't they have all the top jobs? But I remember one of them used to tell me, you need to prepare yourself before you move on. So I always had that sense that it's not about chasing the money, but about
Mhm.
in preparing myself rather than chasing the money.
Okay. Yeah, so as I was saying, Tom, your experience in civil engineering is very unique. I don't know much about civil engineering because I went to electrical, you went to civil, and that was it, right? So, but based on what you've just explained to me, because this is the first time you're actually giving me like in-depth details on your experience, and I gotta say, like, it's a very unique, and I think it kind of like just shed some good light, for people who want to take that career, and also also makes it possible, and also show people that it's possible to make it, in Sierra Leone. We know, I know, you know how hard it is to find that path to success in Sierra Leone. So this is a very good example, Tom, and I appreciate you giving me that detail. But I know where you are now. You have your own company. You have your you you're hiring engineers, young engineers. You're mentoring them. You're a business owner because you're actually running a business on your own, right? So I
Yeah.
just wanted to know, how did you make that transition from you know working from the UN, I believe from the UN, and then moving to your own? Like, weren't you like afraid? What did you think about the risk? Because that's a big risk, right? You're making this
Yeah,
amount
I
of
know.
money, comfortable amount of money, and you just went like, this is not enough. I want more. And you decided, okay, I'm gonna go my own way. That's taking a lot of risk. And I just want you to kind of like walk me through how you kind of like went through that.
Yeah, so well, every decision in life, it's about choice, but also it's a risk. And I think it's not something you just wake up in the morning one day and then you decide on doing something. It's all about planning. It's all about having a vision. So I know you and I have been quite good friends, and apart from you are one of my closest friends. We actually have these very deep conversations about what we want for ourselves, but also about what we want for. We are kind of people that are idealists. We want to do something good. So even though as you said, I had a comfortable job, and well, actually, when I was with the UN for about I think 6 years, and actually I got another job with the Ministry of Health. So I was the national engineer in charge of all projects in Sierra Leone. So I actually, when I left the UN, I also working at the ministry. I also had a retainership. So I worked about 2 years with the ministry, but was also having like double salary. I had my fixed salary at the UN because just after I left, they had this mudslide issue, the
Mhm.
disaster. I think it was in 2014 or something, or 15, when they had this mudslide at Montome or
Yeah,
so.
I,
So
I
they had
remember.
to call me back to support them. So I was there on site and supporting them. We built the camps. We had to exhume all of the that and a few dead bodies, and so I was there for like 2 years supporting that project. But at the same time, I was handling a lot of projects at the Ministry of Health, doing a lot of hospitals, a lot of clinics, and the rest. But with time, I started. Well, it's at that point that started mentoring. Well, I had some junior engineers with me, and I got in that position when I started mentoring people. Even though when I was in the UN, my first few projects, I had a few young engineers. But with that kind of idea, having young people, and a lot of times you will see people will come into the office and be asking for jobs. Hey, I've graduated like 2 or 3 years now. I've had no jobs. Please help me. If worst case, I can come and sit at the office and without any pay, just learn something or get a bit of experience.
Yeah.
So I decided, I think it was around my 30th, just after my 30th birthday, I decided to register this company. And all another good thing is, apart from planning, it's always good
Tom,
for you to
Tom,
have
Tom,
mentors.
Tom, to stop you there just a bit. What's the name of your company?
My company is called Trine Investments Sierra Leone Limited. The Trine means it's three-sided, so we focus on three things. We do engineering, design, and construction. We do project management and business management, and we also do logistics. So logistics in terms of equipment, trucks, and the rest. So it's called Trine. And
Okay.
strangely, when we started, I started the company, but a few years later, I had two good younger colleagues that joined me. So anytime we say tribe, people are asking, is it because the three of you? Yeah. So and they've been with me since that. So yeah.
Okay.
So so as I said, so when I started seeing this challenge for these young engineers. I think that's what motivated me more. But also, I had a mentor. He's called an older cousin of mine who also had his own company, and I supported him with a few projects. And he always advised me about, in Sierra Leone we have here what we call mamikoka, where you have jobs on the side. It might be legal or
Yeah,
not legal, I don't know, but sometimes just to get extra income, just to
I know.
get extra income, you will be working and then you will do something on the side in your after work hours to like some small design or maybe them helping a friend or family or somebody with supervising their construction. So I had a lot of these mami cookers coming up and people will call you and then you will just negotiate informally, say, okay, I'll give you this amount, I'll give you that. And he advised me, I said, the best way to do something structured, register a company, when somebody calls you for a job, you're able to charge them a fixed fee or you have something like that. So and you can make more money, but at the same time, you can also be paying tax. You can be helping other people, employ people. So he advised me that. So I decided to register this company. So for the first few years, I actually did not leave my job. I actually continued working. So the company was there, was
Mm.
registered. And strangely, I had to be using my salary, paying salaries for my workers because the first 3 years we weren't getting really much job. So the little jobs we had, we just paid off taxes, we paid off the social security and all the operational parts of it. So I remember then it was like for 3 years, in my earnings, I would spend like 20-30% of my own salary to just pay my guys up and to do some support the company itself. But with time, I decided that it was time to transition fully. So by that time, I had like 4 or 5 guys that were working on me, and most of these guys were like just new graduates, but they also showed potential. I remember one of them was very good with the in 3D design, and he's still my architect, and he's also like my deputy. And I'll tell you, just last year I registered his own company. He's still working with me, but I actually, like as a kind of present, I registered the company for him and handed it over to him. I said, it's about time
Oh,
for you to move on to
amazing.
your own thing
Am-
now. I said,
Amazing.
it's not like you're leaving me, but you can start. You've worked like almost 7, 8 years with me now. So it's time for you to transition. So he was really, really happy and he had that capacity. I saw something in him that I saw in myself. So, and the other thing, as I mentioned, my main goal was for years, and it's always been my main goal for my company. I want a company, I need to make profits, and it's good. I make a lot of money on that. But my main goal every year, I try to get new graduates and even interns. I usually take interns from the university, at least 2 or 3 of them every year that will come and work with me and we will train them and give them some kind of pittance or something like a kind of remuneration. But also, I would say like about 50% of my staff are new graduates, some of them not more than 2 or 3 years old. One of the ones that is actually been very good, he's not even graduated yet. He's graduating this April, but he's been with me for like 2.5 years now. So I think for me that was the main focus and goal. I really wanted to, I know we used to talk a lot about it, but I always want to make a change. So it's not much, but it's for me, no matter whatever little you do, it's still a change, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah,
I,
yeah. I no, I have to agree with you. You are making a change for sure. Um, your, I think what struck well with me was the fact that you you are mentoring, you're building up potential, you're building up people, and you're giving them opportunities, and that in Sierra Leone and in that situation that things are currently in, I mean that's great. You're doing great. So keep doing what you're doing, brother. I appreciate. Congratulations. That's all I can say right now.
thank you, though. Thank you.
Congratulations. Anyways, let's move off from the professional aspect. I want to get to the personal a little bit. But first I
So
want
do I
to.
need to get a glass of wine for that?
Yeah, if you want, if
I
you
said,
want
well,
to get some
do I
glass,
need to get a glass of wine?
if you want to get a glass of wine, it's
Come in.
fine.
No, it's okay.
But before we get to, my, I call it the rapid fire questions. I just want to ask you one last one, and that is two in one question. Is at this point that you are in, is this your definition of success? Or do you feel like there is more? There's a Tom 2. Is there like a Tom 2.0 waiting, right? And of course, where do you get your inspiration
Um,
from? Where do you get your motivation from? What keeps you going?
for me, I think, well, um, I've always been somebody that is chasing after knowledge. So I think I can never learn enough. I'm currently doing my PhD. Hopefully, I'll be rounding up this year or next year. It's been really challenging
Amazing,
working,
amazing,
running
amazing,
family, doing studies.
amazing.
So, so that has been, well, that's my next key milestone. And I think that's something I want to achieve. But in terms of success, I think success is not more as much about what you personally achieve, because most times you set goals, you hit those goals, then you look at new goals, and that's how we are. Every well, people that are very want to achieve more, that's how they are made. So for me, I think I can always do more, because even though you help a lot, you find out that you don't help enough people. So you always want to go much bigger, you want to do more, reach out more. But I think the other good thing about, you have to be aware, self-aware, that you have your limits. You can't do more than you can do, because at the same time you have to balance your life. So even though you're working a lot, you're studying a lot, you want to achieve this, you want to achieve the you have to find time to enjoy what you have really achieved. And I think a few years ago I got to that point where I said, okay, yes, I've always been chasing on the fast lane, and let me find time now to at least appreciate what I have been able to achieve, especially spend more time with family, spend more time with friends, do things that I love, and be trying to. I've always had this thing about every year I want to learn something new. I remember from years back it was swimming, then moved on to chess. I'll always have this new hobby, and then I will drop off
Piano.
that hobby, move get something new. So moved on to music and the rest. So I just thought, I think it's at a point in life, by the time you get into your 40s, you start realizing that you have less time or equal time left than you've already spent. So you really want to, success is about how you define it, because I think you can want to be like Elon Musk if you have the capacity for it, but at the same time you can still be like, there are other success people we know about. Like I know one of my other um, what's the mentor for Bill Gates? I've forgotten his name. I think he has what's his name? He does a lot of investment. So yeah, it just skipped
Warren
me.
Buffett.
Warren Buffett, yeah, he was somebody I really admire. So he's done, he's built a company, and he does a lot of investment. But at the same time, I think there's a story going around that he's still staying in his original house. He's somebody very, very,
Grounded, very grounded
you
guy.
know, grounded. So that's what I'm moving towards. For me, I think that's success. It's about how much life you can impact, but at the same time, you have to still enjoy your life, because there's no need for you to have all of these achievements, have all of these things, but at the end of the day, we all have to get to that point where we are in our deathbeds, and you start asking yourself, what did I do with my life? Did I
True.
really enjoy? Did I really experience? Because at the end of the day, it's about the experience. You can help you even if you move on, there are still going to be problems. There are still going to be people without jobs. There are still going to be young guys not being able to get jobs. So you have done your part, but at the same time, whilst doing your part, don't forget to also enjoy your own life. You only live once, but the problems and troubles will always be there. It's been there for 2,000 years. It will be there for another 2,000 years after you. So, but at the end of the day, it's about experiencing your own life. So for me, that's success. It's about reaching at a point. It's the realization, the enlightenment that you have done enough. You can do more, but at the same time, you have to live your life.
Well said. Well said. I have nothing to add. At the end of the day, it's your own. It's how you define success, right? For every individual, what they define as success is different, right? And
Different, yeah.
your definition of your success, I mean, there's nothing I can say about it, but just to kind of like, give you 100% or whatever, I can give you a fist bump or whatever, but well defined, well defined. All right, Tom. Now let's get to the rapid fire questions that I have for
Yes,
you.
yes.
So you have 1 second, 1 second
Wow.
to think about it and just give me an answer. You don't need to think about it. If you say something interesting, I'll ask you why. But if you just give your answer and it makes sense to me, I'll just move on to the next question and we keep on going. Okay?
You remember in school we used to do the hot mental. Is it? I don't know if you did that.
This is hot mental
Anyway,
this is hot mental for adults.
no problem. I'm ready.
All right, first question. Who's your goat?
It was my dad. My dad was my dad, but
Why
my
you
dad has passed away. I know.
yeah.
Well,
You more than
it's more
one
than a
second
second.
now.
It's more than a second. But for
Okay.
now, I think I admire that I have this uncle, Cyrano's dad. He's somebody I've always
Yeah.
when my dad passed away, he's been like a dad for me. So I think I always look to people within my circle. That's who I consider as my goat.
Yeah. But Tom, you don't play by the rules. Now keep to the rules, please.
Actually,
Keep to the rules, please. All right. Favorite food?
this is a bit hard. You have to process. I know it's not mental, but you have to process.
Okay, okay,
I
2 seconds.
like
I give you two
lamb.
seconds.
I
Two
like
seconds.
mutton lamb.
Martin Lamb.
I like
Okay.
lamb. I like lamb. I
Okay. What word do you hate to hear?
can't.
Can't. I like that. I like that. What's your favorite Creole word?
Leg.
All right. I was
I'm
thinking like
I'm well not a lover, but I love. I like
love,
loving.
love,
So
love, love, love is your language. Okay. All right.
love. They say love makes the world go round. So
Well said. Well said. Good answer. All right. Best place to hang out.
my house.
Okay. hmm Most beautiful country or place you've ever visited.
I think Mozambique.
Mozambique.
I've been to the States. I've been to a few of them. I've been to the States, been to South Africa, Germany. But I think, Mozambique is number one because I felt a bit grounded. The people there were very, very, even though they spoke Portuguese and I
hmm
could not understand Portuguese. I've even been to Kenya. I had a similar experience in Kenya, but with Mozambique, the language difference, but they always felt much more open and much more hospitable to me than all the other countries that I've been to that actually speak English. So I think that's the experience I had there. Even
Okay.
to a point where, and then I was not married. There was this girl that I met in one of these, and she took my number. We were chatting using the trans translator for about a week, but then we lost interest. It was very beautiful. I went to one of the shopping malls, and she was one of the attendants there. She took my number. She was trying to learn English, but she couldn't speak much, so we ended up just communicating by messages. So whilst I had to be translating, she would send through messages. I translate and and then it was not WhatsApp,
Oh,
it was on Facebook.
Mrs. Taylor Morgan has some words for you after after this conversation.
way before way before I was married then.
Yeah. So you put a disclaimer now, way before you were married. All right,
That's
let's put that.
married.
Let's put that. Way before you were married. All
Yeah.
right. Next question. Most addictive video game you ever played?
I played it was this game called C4 or C12. I remember,
C12.
I think yes, it's like a third person action puzzle game. I love puzzle games. It was action and puzzle, but I was never able to finish. I think it was on my PS1. So I got the discs. I think I played around 60% of it, but I encountered a puzzle which I could never.
Mhm.
Back then, we did not have all of these YouTube
Yeah,
in
no, we did
videos
not.
that will help us out or going on the internet searching how to solve them. So you had to spend like days trying to figure out this puzzle. So, and I was really addicted to that. I played it like 2 years, but I was never able to finish. And up till this day, I've always been searching to see if I could get it back, but the PS1 had gone out of, and they never ported it to PC. So it's a game that's always been at the back of my mind. If there's a way I could get the PS1 back and just try to finish it out now with all the support you get from
Yeah,
YouTube and all the rest.
yeah,
Now it's easy. Back then, I know if you remember,
yeah.
you had to figure out yourself.
Of course, of course, of course. I remember. So, do you still range?
Not really. It's been, I think, since I started doing my PhD, I've not been having time to do that much. But I still go on YouTube when new games come out. I I follow up. I think I get the satisfaction from watching others play than actually playing myself.
No,
So it's
okay.
been like 3 years now. I've not really had enough time to play.
Anyway, ranging means to play. Anyway, that's our slang for playing.
I know.
All right, two more questions. Liverpool or Arsenal? Who will win the Premier League?
I'm a Liverpool supporter. So I go for Liverpool, and I went to I did my postgraduate the certificate
Uh-huh.
at University of Liverpool.
Liverpool.
So, and my dad was supporter of Liverpool. My elder brother in UK is also in Liverpool. So yeah, at one small point I supported Manchester, but I moved on and I settled with Liverpool. So I'm with Liverpool. I know you'll be vying for Arsenal, but
No, 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 no.
historically,
Left. No,
let's
no,
look at
no.
the data.
I stopped supporting Arsenal since when Thierry Henry left. So it's been like years. I'm a Real Madrid supporter through and through. Hala Madrid.
Wow,
Okay,
that's yeah, I know.
last and final question. Would you rather be rich, famous, or talented?
I'll be talented. I'm a shy person. I don't want to be famous,
Uh-huh.
and I think riches are is just for me. It's more of a tool that you can use to do more. But with
Okay.
talent, I think you can change more with talent because you can influence more people with your talent. I think riches, it has its limits. You can help, you can fund things, you can help people. But I think in the world we are in now, people are more inspired and more motivated by talent. You see all of these footballers, the musicians, even the academics, the inventors, where the rich inventions rather than his money. Because it's something that it changes. You gain riches, you lose it, you gain, you really lose. But the talent is something it goes with you to the grave. Like
Yeah.
I like music, and I've with time I've been growing and developing my skills in music, and it's something I know. I try whenever I go to church or even post videos, I motivate people more. But there's no way I can be counting my money online. And yes, a few people do that, but a
Yeah.
few people
Yeah.
do that. But for me, it's too carnal, or so how should I
Yeah.
say it? Uh,
Yeah.
so I think,
I get
uh,
what you're saying.
and with fame, I don't think I can cope with fame. I'm a quiet person. I'm a reserved person, conservative. I
Hmm.
would never want to be famous. I'd rather something I'm involved in be famous and I'll be at the back. Nobody knows about me.
Mhm.
But I myself would not be I wouldn't want to be famous.
Okay.
I
All
see we are
right.
going to the 1 hour mark.
Exactly. We're going to the 1 hour mark. So I think it's time we kind of like wrap it up.
Yeah,
First of all, great answers to the question, but Tom, you gotta stick to the rules.
the
So
rules.
that,
I've
that's the
always been
only thing that can
somebody
help me.
not sticking to the rules. You know me for that. I've always been.
You are your own man. So
Yeah.
I respect that. I
Thank you
respect.
so much.
But anyways, Tom, final words for me. 26 or 20, let's just say about 20 something years of friendship. It's it's great, that we're taking this leap together. You being the first person on the podcast, I appreciate it so much. This is great. I got great insight into your thinking again. It's like we just resynced after so many years that we've been apart. Um,
Sure.
thank you. I appreciate your words of wisdom. And for sure, I hope that the next time I'm in Freetown, we can sit down and continue the discussion, and I'll be able to spend some time with your wife and your kids. And it's been a blessing knowing you.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for joining
Thank you. And
this
thank you.
podcast.
Just one request. I know after mine you'll be doing the other college. If you can just share me with the links so I could join in when you're doing the other podcast. So
For sure, for sure, for sure.
and main reason I want to join in is to catch the bullying. You know what we call bullying, wherein you don't they don't do the right thing. So that will be something I'm gonna take record of. I know I have done a few of mine, so maybe when you're doing the review, you can cut those out.
No, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Okay, Duffy, thank you. I appreciate you as a friend, as a brother, and I wish you all the best. Thank you so much.